Welcome back, everybody. Mark with exoticcarplayplace. Today we're going to talk about the most reliable BMW engines that you can get. And if you're looking for a reliable car and you want BMW, you want the fine German products, you're going to have your best success with the following engines. And I'm going to give you that list right now. So if you stick around, we're going to walk through it. I'm going to show you some great examples. So here's an example of what car would actually have one of the more reliable engines. And this is an E30 325. Now, very nastily modified, I might say, but hey, you know what? This is from a generation or with the M20 motor. The M20 engine that's tucked away under here powers, a lot of different variations. There's variations like the 320, the 325, and the 325iX, IS, the E for economy, or EDA is what they called it actually. It's more or less an economy version of that engine. These are a generation where these cars are really honest. These cars were really, for the most part, just a good old-fashioned driving experience. Again, this thing is a little bit rough. Somebody looked like they tried to make a little race car out of it. But in essence, this here contains the wonderful M20 engine, and it's an inline six. So understand, the inline six is the BMW staple in their engine drivetrains. So the next car is the E36, and of course we have an E36 right here. This one is a 318 Ti, but that doesn't change the fact this body style, this chassis style, was available in basically numerous different powertrains, but ultimately the inline six is the car engine that you wanted. It's the inline six engine is what you wanted here, and that would be the M50 or M52 that powered cars like the 320, 323, 325, and 328, of course, and they ranged in power from 148 horsepower to 190 horsepower. So they really were a pretty good staple again, and I use the word staple, but they were a foundational motor for BMW. Well, BMW was producing V8s and in some cases V12s. Ultimately, you came back to the inline six-cylinder engine if you wanted reliability. If you wanted performance, fun driving, and simplicity of maintenance, you went with the inline six that was available in the E36 generations like this. And so another great one. So here we are again, a 325 Ci. You'll notice this car here, 325 Ci. So that in itself was the inline six-cylinder engine in the E46. And again, that engine was also shared with a lot of other of the 5 Series in the day. So it's not just about the 3 Series cars, it's what's inside this that really counts. And it's the inline six-cylinder engine of the E46 generation. Now this is a beautiful example, of course, but again, with that straight six, it provides lots of silky smooth torque. It's a great powerful engine, revs high, super reliable for the most part. These engines are really, really reliable. So this is the E46, and in the E46, like this guy here, that was the M52 and the M54 generation of engines, which again is the straight six. Now they had, possibilities like the 320, the 323, the 325 like we see here, as well as a 328 and 330. Now that's where the M54 comes in, because the M54 was specifically in the 323 and the 330s. The 325 was that was the M52, but they all come from the same generation of straight six engines. And of course, now we have Vanos and double Vanos systems. These cars were very reliable, very high performing, and the only thing that you would typically find as a problem area, for the most part, with these straight six engines were occasional Vanos issues, but largely the cooling system. Again, that's consistent with a lot of the BMW cars, was cooling related issues where you'd have water pumps that would break, you'd have crumbling thermostats, you'd have crumbling radiator ends because they were made out of plastic. It was the cooling system that often would leave you astray. But outside of that, these were extremely, extremely reliable engines, the 325. So any of the six-cylinder engines from the BMW world in this generation were very, very reliable. And now we have the E90 cars. So this is the E90 generation. This is the next series after what we just looked at there. This is a carry forward on these straight sixes as well. Now this car is available in many different variations in the E90, of course, as I said before, But you can get this in really the N52, the N53, N54, and N55 if you got a newer version. Now the N54 and N55s were the turbocharged cars typically found in the 335i's. Now be careful with that. They are six-cylinder engines, inline six-cylinder engines, but the 335s weren't very reliable. As a whole, you had carbon buildup issues because of direct injection, turbo issues, wastegate problems. You had a host of issues that were associated with cooling and all kinds of problems we can get to in another video. But just because they were straight six didn't make them reliable. The engines that you really want in this generation is the N52 and N53, powering basically cars like the 323, 325, 328, and 330. Those were the engines that you wanted for reliability. And as I look around the corner here, this is, as I expected, a 323. Very reliable car. This is a good generation. So if you want reliable, this is what you want. You want something like this, a 3 Series, like a 323, 325, 328, 330, with a manual transmission. Superb machines. And these ones here were extremely reliable, extremely robust. Again, what's the key element here? We're talking about straight six engines, like this one has, inline six-cylinder engines. Now, we're not talking about some of the more powerful BMW cars, such as this, the M3 of the E90 generation. Not the most reliable car BMW has ever produced. That being said, it is one of the more reliable M cars. But because it is not as reliable as your good old-fashioned inline six, this one has the V8 engine, of course. This one, in my mind, should not qualify as an overall one of the more reliable cars in terms of the general BMW lineup. So you generally want to stay away from the V8 engines like in this car if you're looking for reliability and nothing but reliability. You know, you've got the wonderful bulging hood. That's a giveaway, of course. But that, in essence, is what you're trying to dodge. If you want reliability, you want to stay away from M cars in general. And that goes for a lot of these different cars, of course. M cars and reliability generally do not go hand in hand. And of course, stay away from the V8 engines. Stay away from the S85 engine. That's the V10 out of the M5 or the M6. Awesome engines for performance, but not for reliability. So generally, as a rule, you can start to recognize the theme that I'm talking about here now. When I talk about reliability in BMW engines, we talk about the straight sixes. And the straight sixes really are their bread and butter back in the day. Now that BMW has shifted things, they're going to cars now with turbo fours instead. Like, see here we have an M, a modern M car. This is an inline six now. But unfortunately, it's a totally different generation of engines now. Now, rumor has it, there's crank hub issues. And so there's already inherent engine failures here in some of these cars already recognized. That's an inline six, but generally as a rule, like I said, that's not all straight sixes are created equal. And the same with the 335, which I previously mentioned, also not created equally. Now we look at cars like this, newer generation cars. This now is, into the F-Series stuff. And this, of course, we're talking about turbocharged four-cylinder engines. When you're talking about 328s and 330s, we now talk about turbo fours, and the inline sixes are gone. The only way to get an inline six now in the current generation stuff is either to get the 40 series, so a 340 or a 440, or, of course, to get an M car outright. But again, as I said, these current inline six-cylinder engines are very high performance, but reliability hasn't yet been established in the new stuff. So that's really, in essence, what we're dealing with here. We're talking about reliability, so let's talk about simplicity, and that's inline six-cylinder engines by BMW. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video today. As always, make sure you give it a thumbs up, like, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you're not already a subscriber, make sure you become one. I'd love to hear from you guys. And by the way, so just for a little extra information for you guys, I'm going to be incorporating some additional new content in my channel. We all know that I'm big into the Lamborghinis, as I currently own one, and so I want to share some more of that information with you guys. I'm going to live with some of my experiences on Lamborghinis, so if you guys want to kind of learn some of that, even as some extra fun entertainment, I'm going to be sharing a lot of Lamborghini content to come as well. But don't worry, I'm not abandoning BMW. I love the BMW product, and we're going to continue on doing the BMW stuff too. So make sure you come back next time, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.